Football is more than just a sport. It's a global sensation. Billions of people watch it, and entire nations wrap their entire identity around it. I'm looking at you, Brazil. The players are icons, role models, and in many cases, some of the most powerful young men in the world. But beneath the flashiness, money, and fame, football has a dark underbelly, one that many find uncomfortable to talk about, but has started becoming impossible to ignore. Over the years, the game has been rocked by multiple allegations of both rape and sexual assault. These cases often dominate headlines, split opinions, and raise an urgent question. Why does this keep happening in football? And more importantly, what can be done to stop it? This video is not about gossip or sensationalism. It's about looking at the facts, understanding the pattern, and asking what needs to change in the culture of football. Now, let's start with the cases themselves, shall we? Back in 2016, former Manchester City and Sunderland winger Adam Johnson was arrested and jailed for engaging in sexual activity with a 15-year-old fan. Now let me say that again, a fucking 15-year-old. He had admitted to grooming and kissing her. He was sentenced to just 6 years in prison, which he served only 3. And he fucking admitted it. What is wrong? It doesn't make any sense to me. The case highlighted a huge and controversial discussion on how young fans could be exploited by the very players that they idolize. Benjamin Mendy, a World Cup winner with France and Premier League champion at Manchester City at this point, was charged with multiple counts of rape and sexual assault back in 2021. His trials lasted nearly 2 years, in which he had no football in action in. In 2023, he was acquitted and all the charges were dropped, but the damage had already been done. His contract with Manchester City was already terminated, his reputation destroyed, and he now plays far away from the spotlight in France for FC Lorient. Even when found innocent, his case shows how devastating these accusations can be, regardless of the outcome. Now, back in 2022, one of England's brightest young talents, Mason Greenwood of Manchester United, was arrested after shocking images and audio surfaced online which showed him physically and sexually assaulting his then girlfriend. Greenwood was charged with attempted rape, controlling behavior, and assault, and even having his contract suspended immediately, which, good on United for that, let's be honest. In 2023, prosecutors dropped the case after key witnesses withdrew and new evidence came to light. But Greenwood's career in England was effectively over. United had already cut ties with him, and he was loaned to Getafe for a season, after which Marseille decided to sign him. Why is it always the French clubs, man? It's always them. I don't get it. Fortunately for him, and unfortunately for everybody else, during his debut season for Marseille in Ligue 1, he would emerge as the league's top scorer, managing to score 21 goals in the season. And as for his international career, he has now switched his allegiance over to Jamaica. His case sparked an enormous debate about whether clubs should ever reintegrate players facing such allegations, even if the charges don't stick. I mean, this case doesn't make any sense because there was so much evidence, yet he was found not guilty. Which brings me on to my next case, Thomas Partey. Arsenal's Ghanaian midfielder Thomas Partey was initially accused of rape all the way back in 2022. Yes, you heard that right, 2022. Meaning Arsenal knew about said allegations but still chose to go forward with him on payroll, and let's be fair, having a very good impact on the club and helping them finish second, as they always do and will this season too. He was questioned by police but never charged, as the case is still ongoing. Arsenal at this point finally decided to cancel his contract, in which Villarreal came out of nowhere to sign him. The Spanish club emphasized the presumption of innocence, but also included a clause in the contract that should Thomas Partey be convicted and found guilty, they will immediately terminate his contract. The signing was controversial, to say the least, drawing both support and protest from fans. Still though, his name remains controversial among Arsenal fans and football followers alike. Some argue that the lack of charges clear his name, while others say that the shadow of allegations will always hang over him. But what happens when these allegations turn out to be false, which as you will find out, being a rich footballer has a tendency of attracting bad people with horrible intentions. Now in early 2023, PSG and Moroccan player Achraf was accused of rape by a woman in Paris. The story dominated global headlines. I mean, it just didn't make sense. This was Hakimi, for God's sake. one of the most beloved and nicest footballers you could find out there. He's a mama's boy for fuck's sake. And within weeks, evidence would come out showing inconsistencies in the accuser's story when text messages were found of her telling a friend how she had planned on staging the allegation to get a massive payout from Hakimi. And just like that, the case collapsed. Hakimi was cleared and the whole footballing world let out a sigh of relief. His case sparked a new conversation though about what happens when the accusations themselves are false, and just how does a player repair his reputation after such a scandal. Which brings us to our next case. Even some of the biggest and best icons of the beautiful game are plagued with these scandals. In 2019, a Brazilian model accused Neymar Jr. of raping her in a Paris hotel. He denied the allegations and stated that the interaction was entirely consensual, and the case was eventually dropped due to insufficient evidence. But during trial, Neymar released private messages and videos in his defense, showcasing that what happened that night might have been the other way around, raising questions about privacy and public opinion. Although he was cleared, the case showed how even the most famous footballers are not beyond these controversies. So you're probably asking, why the fuck does this keep happening? Looking at all these cases, one thing is ultimately clear. This isn't about a few bad individuals. There are deeper, systematic reasons why sexual assault allegations keep surfacing in football. Footballers are often multimillionaires by the time they're 20. They live in a bubble where people idolize them, say yes to them, and treat them like gods. That level of power at such a young age can lead to entitlement, where boundaries and most often consent are ignored. Another reason a lot of people ignore is protection from clubs and institutions. Clubs invest millions into players. When accusations come, there's often a rush to protect their asset, not the victim of the crime. These footballers are seen as more of an investment rather than an actual human being. Silence and payouts have all been used to shield players from scrutiny. In many countries, footballers are untouchable. They're national treasures. Sometimes law enforcement bends under public pressure. Other times, fans themselves attack victims online, discouraging others from ever coming forward. The fallout of these cases are brutal. For victims, it's trauma, fear, and often no real justice. Many are made to be villains online, their lives turned upside down with nothing and no one on their side, while the footballers have money and influence on their side. For football, every scandal damages its reputation. Sponsors pull deals and clubs lose credibility. For example, United's handling of Greenwood's case led to protests from fans and backlash from sponsors. For players, even being found not guilty don't erase the stigma. Mendy, Hakimi, and Neymar are all technically clear, yet their names will always be linked to these allegations. Fabinho, meanwhile, will forever be a convicted rapist in the eyes of the law. So, how the hell do we curb this problem? If football is serious about change, it can't just wait around for the next scandal. Real action is needed. That's where education comes in. Consent and respect must be drilled into players way down from the academy level. Young athletes need to understand power dynamics and boundaries. Clubs and governing bodies must create clear and strict policies on how to handle these allegations. No player should be protected because of their transfer value. Victims also need to be made to feel safe, have accessible reporting systems backed by confidentiality and legal support. They shouldn't be bullied into silence by either fans or the media. And hardest of all, a cultural change. This is the hardest step. Football needs to challenge its toxic masculinity. Campaigns like Kick It Out have worked for racism. Why not create one that addresses violence against women? If football sets the example, the world will follow. If you've made it this far, I would really appreciate if you hit the subscribe button and like, and trying to get to 100 subscribers before the end of the month. So a subscription would really help. Thank you very much. Not every footballer is guilty of these crimes though. Most never face these accusations. But the sheer number of cases we've seen shows there's something deeply wrong in the sport's deep-rooted culture. Football is the world's game. It unites billions and it inspires generations. But with that influence comes responsibility. If football wants to truly be the beautiful game, it must hold its players to the highest standard on and off the pitch. Because no goal, no trophy can ever excuse violence against women. Thank you very much and have a nice day.